Hi everyone, I'm Michael. Welcome to today's class. Today's topic is about a certain type of news. While you may not have come across the type of news mentioned in the lesson, the concepts and ideas presented in the lesson will help you understand the world better. Furthermore, your English skills will improve, and so will your cognition. So then, are you ready? Let's get started. In today's world, clever but misleading titles of news articles flood the internet. With the rise of we media, where everybody tries to attract viewers through these kinds of titles, you can hardly browse the internet without coming across them. People expect the news they read to be authentic. However, we can't resist reading articles that are intriguing but contain less reliable information. It seems that sensationalism is unavoidable in today's news. We're going to talk about 4 things in today's lesson. First, we'll talk about what sensationalism is. Second, we'll explain how the media uses sensationalism. Third, we'll discuss how sensationalism influences us. And fourth, we'll give solutions to sensationalism. So, what is sensationalism? Sensationalism is a type of bias used by the media as a way of getting people's attention. They use eye-catching words or present information in a shocking or even distorted way. The title may have nothing to do with the article itself. Let me give an example. Say you're surfing the internet and you're looking at your favorite website. On the side, you see an ad with a catchy title, something like, "The results are shocking." But when you click on the article, it's either information you already knew or something completely unrelated. Sound familiar? That's an example of sensationalism used on the internet to lure you to click on an article. So, what makes clicking on an article like this so tempting? Understanding human psychology can help shed light on this question. First, the human mind is programmed to be alert to sensations. The human mind is particularly sensitive to sensations, such as sex and violence. This could be because of natural selection. Second, sensational articles always appear to be something new and exciting. Our minds are constantly searching for something out of the ordinary that makes life more dramatic. Regular news with straight facts can be perceived as too boring to satisfy our curious minds. For content writers, they may be under the effect of groupthink. This means they won't report on deep topics in order to minimize conflict and criticism. A deep topic may receive great criticism, and it may be safer to simply report on trivial issues. The false consensus effect is also common among sensational writers. This means that writers may believe that the public shares the same opinions, beliefs, and values about certain issues, but in reality, they do not. So, the media will report on issues which they assume are important, but actually are not. Now that we understand what sensationalism is, let's discuss how the media uses it. the media uses various tactics to draw us in to click on an article that is misleading. One tactic they use is trying to appeal to our curiosity. To do this, the media will use misleading titles to catch our attention. Perhaps you have seen some of these examples on English websites. Let's look at the first example. A schoolgirl gave her lunch to a homeless man. You won't believe what happened next. This example has two parts. The first sentence makes you ask yourself the question, why did she do that? The second sentence makes you say, I need to find out why she did that. We can see how a title like this sparks one's curiosity and causes them to click on this kind of article. Here are a couple other examples of this tactic. Man divorced his wife after knowing what is in this photo. Supermodels apply these 3 simple tricks to look young. Click to know what they are. Would you feel tempted at all to click on these articles? That is how sensationalism works online. Let's look at another tactic, fear. Websites may use a title that causes fear, and the article supposedly has the answer to the problem. Here is an example. 10 everyday habits that are killing you. This kind of title is used to make you afraid. So then, you may click on the article out of fear to find the solution to the problem. But when you click on the article, the solution will either have very obvious points or have nothing useful at all. Maybe it will say, for example, that you should eat breakfast and stop smoking. But everyone already knows this. This is a clear case of sensationalism. Often, the media will exaggerate a non-issue to try and get people interested in it. Let's look at our course's definition of exaggerate. To exaggerate means to describe something as larger or more important than it really is. There is also something called the breakthrough syndrome. This occurs when the media overemphasizes good news in science or medicine that actually is not very big. Perhaps the media will make a very small study or discovery and make it seem more important than it really is. For example, they may take a small clinical study on cancer and make it sound like a huge scientific breakthrough. The title of the article may sound something like, New discovery could lead to cure for cancer. So, why does the media use sensationalism? It seems ridiculous that websites would want people to click on articles that are misleading. What's in it for them? The answer is money. Stories that appear to be more engaging and attention-getting will attract more readers. The more viewers the article has, the higher its revenue will be. On the internet, news outlets make money through advertisements. The companies advertising on websites give money to the media companies depending on how many viewers they get. This is why writers will twist the facts or exaggerate to make an article exciting. In short, exciting articles means more readers, even if what happens in the article isn't true. Another reason why the media uses sensationalism is because it's easier to write. It can be easier to simply exaggerate because the writer is free to choose how to write it. An issue that is not very serious will also be easier because one won't need to report on deep, complicated issues. Less effort is required for these types of articles. This leads to a quicker profit for media companies. Knowing how and why the media uses sensationalism, we can better understand how it influences us. So, what does influence mean? Our course defines this word. To influence means to have an effect on something. One way that sensationalism can affect the public is that it can clearly be misleading. What does misleading mean? Our course tells us, it says, to be misleading means to lead away from the truth, to give a false idea. If articles are misleading, then the public will be blinded from the truth. This is important because the public feel they are being lied to. They may lose confidence in the media. If the public lose confidence in the media, they may also lose confidence in their government, which supports it. Sensationalism may also cause the public to become less sensitive to information. One problem with sensationalism is that it is an endless cycle of excitement and disappointment. For example, viewers look at an article that appears to be exciting on the surface. Then, after reading it, we are left disappointed because of the lack of content. This cycle can cause viewers to become less sensitive to actual important information in the news. Another effect of sensationalism is fear. News stories centered around fear prey on our anxieties to keep us glued to the news. This increases ratings and market share, but it increases depression and keeps viewers in a state of fear. Like we mentioned previously, the media has two aims with fear-based reporting. The first is to catch your attention and make you fearful. And the second is to persuade you that the solution to your fear will be in the news story. This type of reporting leads people to be pessimistic instead of optimistic and causes anxiety. In reality, many people view sensational articles as a form of entertainment. Some people like to read exciting news stories even if the content is empty. It makes them feel good for a moment, even though it may not be good for their mental health. Think of it as junk food. You know it's unhealthy, but it tastes delicious. Sensationalism not only affects viewers, but content providers as well. If a content provider is seen as being sensational, their reputation could be damaged. They may become less persuasive or convincing and simply be seen as a provider of fake news. What does persuasive mean? Let's look at our course's definition. To be persuasive means to be able to cause people to do something by asking or giving reasons. What about the definition of convincing? Our course explains that also. To be convincing means to provide powerful support for a belief and to overcome doubts. Because of this trend, much of the public has lost faith in the media altogether. They say that real journalism is dead, and we live in a world of sensationalism. News networks seem to focus on ratings rather than the news stories that actually matter. Over and over again, we see a news story that gets overcovered. It gets too much attention when other stories could be much more important. In the USA, there are clear cases of this, like the trial of O.J. Simpson or Donald Trump's rise to presidency. This overcoverage has created a clear bias within journalism. This is one reason trust in the media has reached an all-time low in the USA. According to one source, only 32% of Americans trust media sources, such as newspapers, television, and radio. So, we now understand the negative influence of sensationalism. What can we do about it? Every day, we are overwhelmed with massive amounts of media. How do we determine what is real media and what is just sensationalism? We should use critical thinking to fight against it. Critical thinking is something that is not easy to use when reading the news, but it's something we must do in order to understand what we read from an unbiased point of view. Presently, the majority of people in the world are at the mercy of the news media in their own country. But there are a number of things we can do to help us read these stories critically. Here are a few things we can do. First, we can look at the importance of a story. Many news stories are made to seem bigger or more extreme than they really are. Instead of getting caught up emotionally, ask yourself if the news story is actually important. Second, we can assess news stories for their clarity and accuracy. Oftentimes, stories are purposely made unclear in order to hide the facts and get the reader to think a certain way. True news stories have clear, accurate facts. And third, find multiple sources of information, not just those of the mass media. This will help you view a story from multiple viewpoints and identify bias within a story. It will also help you identify any inconsistencies in a story. These are a few skills to develop to help us become critical readers of the news. By developing these skills, we can come to reasonable conclusions using a balanced approach. Currently, few people have developed these skills. We as news readers are not the only ones who need to fight sensationalism. Content providers also need to take more responsibility. While it may seem far-fetched in today's media, there are content providers who do fight against sensationalism. They do this by offering content which they consider to be free of sensationalism. Everyone can be a part of this cause, even if you're not an adult. Take Sumer Sharma, for example. Sharma was just turning 16 years old when he started Information Weekly. Information Weekly started as a weekly newsletter giving readers short, simple updates of important events around the world. Sharma started this because he believes news focuses too much on crime, corruption, and negative events. He believes there is more happening in the world than the sensationalism the media loves. His mission is to inform the world without being biased or exaggerating. Let's quickly review what we learned today. First, we talked about what sensationalism is. Second, we explained how the media uses sensationalism. Third, we discussed how sensationalism influences us. And fourth, we gave solutions to sensationalism. There is so much news out there. It's not easy to filter through it to know what is real and what is just sensationalism. But by using critical thinking and keeping an open mind, we can fight back. Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for coming to class. See you again soon.